am the assistant professor of bioethics and humanities in the School of Medicine here at the University of Washington. And I'm actually a new hire. I was recently brought on in July of 2021. My typical day is beginning to look a little different than it has in the past. One day you can be teaching, another day you could be grading, another day you could be writing. But it all depends on what the demand is, what the closest fire is that you can put out. Usually some combination of committee work, some combination of teaching, mentorship. Neurotechnology is so an arm of medical technology that is fraught with a lot of really interesting ethics issues, mostly because neurotechnologies are often created to either record from or manipulate or stimulate some feature of ourselves that is considered core to ourselves. So in the case of devices like deep brain stimulators that are meant to treat motor conditions, even if we just modify where those electrodes are implanted in the case of deep brain stimulation, so that it treats depression instead of Parkinson's. That seems to cut to the core of who we are, right? So depression seems to be a part of a person's self, or at least augments or plays some role in a person's ability to be themselves or be who they want to be. That raises a huge issue or set of issues. So what can we manipulate with neurotechnologies? What can we learn about human experience through neurotechnologies? And so the ethics of neurotechnologies often concerns a lot of these big picture questions related to sense of self, related to personal identity, personal autonomy, related to agency. And it also concerns a number of the questions that we ask about any kind of medical technology: who will be able to access these technologies, and who will benefit from the proliferation of these technologies. It seems like we should have been considering these questions from the very beginning of developing these technologies. The role that artificial intelligence plays in neurotechnology in general is in decoding and encoding of neural data. And when I say encoding and decoding of neural data, I mean taking recordings of neural data, either electrophysiological neural data collected through electrodes, or maybe fMRI imaging, or other kinds of imaging, ultrasound imaging, any kind of imaging that we have access to, and finding meaning in it, classifying it in ways that are much too difficult or much too costly to have human beings do. It turns out that the possibilities there, while great, also carry in a number of ethics problems from artificial intelligence in general. So things like worries about the ethics of algorithms. So if we have a model that classifies for something like epilepsy, will that algorithm work for everybody? Will it be able to pick up signs of epilepsy across patient populations from certain kinds of neural data? We have to do a little bit of, and what some have called anticipatory governance, to make sure that we are prepared for what I think are inevitable pitfalls that come about when we use artificial intelligence or machine learning algorithms. to make sense of this data. But that means that it's not clear what the issues are going to be. Thinking about some of the broader themes of the research I've done over the last 4 or 5 years, one of the main takeaways that I get from thinking about the ethics of brain-computer interfaces is that they are systems that we interact with, and that we have to take the interactions seriously. And those interactions happen at a number of levels. I think one thing that gets lost, but is also something we're hyper aware of, is the relationship, the interpersonal relationship between people and their devices. But oftentimes, the scientific enterprise, the medical scientific enterprise, focuses on whether or not the person using the brain-computer interface is able to get some kind of assistive benefit, is able to rely on the device to perform in very specific ways. So are they able to control the device? Is the device able to give them the right kinds of feedback? Does the device perform when the user wants it to perform? And maybe do they experience quality of life improvements as a result of using that device? So for the last 2 or 3 years, we've been thinking about these issues in terms of agency. And we've been thinking of agency in terms of whether or not we take responsibility for the actions of our brain-computer interfaces, whether or not we can trust ourselves to evaluate the information we get from brain-computer interfaces, whether or not these devices are productive or deteriorate our sense of authenticity. Do I feel like myself when I'm using these devices? And do I feel like I can trust people around my device to have access to my device? Are they going to get more information or more access to me or my neural states because they have access to my device? Other people have different ways of thinking about it, but I think agency is the right lens. So I think the field is going to grow in very interesting ways. I don't think it will just be about the ethics of neurotechnology. You know, people's interests go where the money is, and they go where the shiny device is. But I also think that the increased and renewed interest in social justice issues will alleviate some of that excitement, that nervous excitement we have about neurotechnologies. I think the renewed interest in social justice issues will definitely ground us more in neuroethics issues that are not entirely related to neurotechnology. So things like the ethics of mental health care and access to it. What we call environmental neuroethics, which is some of the work that's done by some of my good friends at UBC and, well, I guess, yeah, Judy Illis at UBC and then a colleague, Laura Cabrera, who do this excellent work thinking about how the environment shapes mental health, how the environment shapes the kinds of interpersonal agency that we exhibit, how climate change can create a kind of condition that targets some people and not others. So indigenous people in particular are impacted by environmental neuroethical concerns. This is really interesting work and I want to see more of it. But yeah, I think that one trend that we should be looking out for is more social justice related neuroethics work and more grounded neuroethics work.